Good everybody, it's Matt here, and today, in this very boring looking brown box, I have got the Microsoft Surface Laptop 7th edition, the Snapdragon X Plus 13-inch model with 16 gig of RAM and a 512 gig hard drive in the black graphite color. Now, the box calls it black, it's called graphite pretty much everywhere else. Basically, it's just got a little bit of like a shiny sort of detail in the aluminium body, so it's not quite a solid black. I think they look really nice. So as you can see, it's a pretty small box. There's nothing really more here than is required. So let's open this one up and we'll have a close look at it and of course what comes in the box with it. So opening up the box, we have got our Microsoft Surface 7 13-inch. It's in a fabric casing, which is kind of nice. And we've got the Microsoft and Windows logo on the front there. Coming down the box, we've then got these two lift up little tab boxes. So this smaller one is our quick start guide, general information, warranty, and so on. Then the larger one contains our power cable. So we've got our wall adapter at one end, then our transformer has a Surface plug at the other end. So the transformer for the 13-inch model is a 39-watt transformer, and it does not have any extra outputs or anything like the 15-inch model, which has a USB output. So this one's just that Surface connector for charging. So let's have a closer look at the Surface. Pulling it out of its nice little fabric baggie, which does feel really nice. We've got that Microsoft logo on the top, which lines up perfectly with the one from the packaging, so it was sitting directly underneath that. As I was mentioning earlier, that black graphite, it kind of has this sort of shiny, rocky sort of look to it. It's a very nice color in my opinion. Now on the front there is no grooves or anything for opening it. The lid protrudes just ever so slightly past the base, and that's all there is to help open it. It makes it really nice and clean looking, but I do think it is a little harder to open than it could be. On the right hand side we've just got the Surface Connect port there for our power. On the rear we have a really nice flush hinge, which looks great in my opinion, and is very similar to what you find on the MacBooks. Over on this side, which is that left-hand side as you're looking at it, we've got a 3.5mm headphone jack, a single USB-A port, and two USB-C Thunderbolt 4 USB 4 compatible ports. So our two USB-C ports support charging, data transfer, DisplayPort 1.4, and of course the Surface Thunderbolt 4 dock. They also support fast charging with a 65-watt power supply via the USB-C or via the Surface Connect port on the other side. Obviously, the one that it comes with is only that 39-watt, but of course we can use other chargers to charge off of USB-C. And that USB-A port is USB 3.1 compatible. This is the business edition of the Surface laptops. So that means it comes with Windows Pro. And obviously, in addition to all that connectivity, these ones have a pretty good battery in them. It's meant to last up to 13 hours of active web usage, 20 hours of local video playback. That little lip I find is reasonably easy to pull the laptop open, particularly while we've got our initial little protective bit of paper in there. However, once that bit of paper is out and those magnets are on there, I do find it is a little bit harder to catch that lip. But even so, considering there's no actual real groove or anything to get hold of, it does open really easily. One of my little peeves with these ones, the same as with MacBooks, because of that aluminium casing, they leave fingerprints. Like you can see these fingerprints already appearing on here from the small amount that I have touched this one. I do find the platinum color does not show the fingerprints as much as the black graphite. So if you don't like fingerprints, the platinum color is a better way to go there. So opening it up, straight away it goes into the Windows setup. The keyboard is quite a nice keyboard. I quite like these ones. They feel really good to use. It does have a TPM2 enterprise grade chip with BitLocker support in these ones. And they do also support Microsoft Pluton technology if you're using that. So right up the top here, we've got our webcam, which is a 1080p full HD camera. We do also have separate Windows Hello Face authentication cameras there. And the screen is a 13.8-inch PixelSense Flow touchscreen with a resolution of 2304 by 1536 pixels at 201 pixels per inch. So I do personally find they are quite a nice screen. These ones have a power button up here rather than a switch anywhere separately on the computer. We also have a CoPilot button right here next to our arrows, so we can quickly jump into the CoPilot. We also have a fairly large touchpad, which is quite responsive and does support multi-touch gestures up to 10 points. Now the screen does go almost all the way to the edge on both sides. There's about, I don't know, probably about 5 millimeters of bevel on each side, and then a little bit more on the top and bottoms, as you can see there. And of course, as I mentioned, it is a touch screen, so we can use it that way if we wish. And it's a really nice responsive touchscreen too. I really like the screens that Microsoft are putting on these ones. I also really love the bevels and the corners. So everything about them just feels really solid. It's really smooth. It all feels really well made. And on the underside, we've got this nice little bevel too. So it kind of makes the laptop look like it's floating. It is a little bit thicker towards the back than at the front. And we do have rubberized feet on all four corners as well to, of course, help hold the laptop in place on the table so it doesn't slide around on us. I find that depending on the surface, those feet can work pretty well. This one, not so much on this desk. They tend to just slide around on this one. I find the MacBook feet tend to be a little bit grippier. So this is the MacBook Air in the 13 inch as well. And as you can see, it does move, but it does grip a lot better than the Surface does. So applying similar pressure there, the MacBook moves far less than the Surface, and the MacBook feet are bigger. If we put them up side by side, they are very, very similar in size. So these are both 13 inch. They both have tons of fingerprints on them, but size-wise, very, very similar. So from this angle, the Surface does look a little bit smaller than the MacBook. So lengthwise, the MacBook Air is 30.41 centimeters or 11.97 inches. The Surface laptop, 13.8 inch in the same direction this way, is 30.1 centimeters or 11.85 inches. So it's just a few millimeters shorter in this direction, 3 millimeters. If we put them up this way though, the Surface does actually protrude out just a little bit from under the MacBook Air, because in that direction the Surface is bigger. The MacBook Air is 21.5 centimeters or 8.46 inches in that direction. The Surface is 22 millimeters or 8.67 inches. So we're only talking 5 millimeters direct in that direction of difference as well, which is really, really not much in the scheme of things. And then height, they look pretty similar at this end because this is the thinner end of the Surface. The MacBook Air is a consistent height the whole way along though, whereas the Surface gets thicker at this end. And when you put them up side by side like that, there is actually a much more distinct difference in height between the two. So the MacBook Air is 1.13 centimeters high or 0.44 inches. The Surface is 1.75 centimeters or 0.69 inches high. So there's a bit more thickness there. And the Surface is a bit heavier than the MacBook as well. The MacBook weighs in at 1.24 kilos or 2.7 pounds. The Surface is 1.34 kilos or 2.96 pounds. Very, very similar dimensions, very similar weight. Overall, the MacBook Air is just slightly smaller and slightly lighter though. So MacBook Air wins out just a little bit on that front. Now this being this Qualcomm Snapdragon processor, it's also got an ARM processor, which is similar to what Apple is doing with the M series processors that are in the MacBook Airs now as well. Now battery life, there's also a little bit of a difference there. Microsoft advertises the 13.8 inch Surface laptop of having up to 20 hours of local video playback and up to 13 hours of active web usage. Apple advertises the MacBook Air as up to 18 hours of Apple TV app movie playback, so not quite as long as Microsoft advertises the Surface for, but Apple does advertise the Air as up to 15 hours of web usage compared to the 13 hours that Microsoft advertises the Surface for, which does suggest that the processor in the Air might be better optimized for web usage than the Surface. In the real world though, your actual usage is highly variable, and I reckon as for practical battery life, I would say you get pretty similar life out of both of these. The Surface does have some newer tech than the MacBook Air. The Surface Laptop 7s support Wi-Fi 7, and of course you've got that touchscreen as I mentioned, whereas the MacBook is not. However, the MacBook does have a higher resolution screen with a 2560 pixel by 1664 pixel native resolution at 224 pixels per inch. So it's actually higher density pixels and more of them on the MacBook screen. The Surface is a brighter screen though, with 600 nits maximum brightness compared to the 500 nits on the MacBook. So they both have their trade-offs, but really they are very similar spec and are pretty much equivalent devices. So there you go. That is the Microsoft Surface Laptop 7 CoPilot PC in the graphite black color. I think these are a really well-made machine. They're quite well spec'd for their size and the market they're targeting. And this range from Microsoft is my go-to range for most business applications, especially now that they've also brought out an Intel version for users where you really need the Intel processors rather than the RISC instruction set that the Snapdragon is based off of. So I hope you found this video helpful. For more information and pricing on these laptops, make sure you check out the affiliate links that are down in the description. And of course, give this video the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this from me. Bye for now.